Well, that was intense.
I don't know if you can hear that or not.
And I've watched it twice. Jace, could you hear the music on that?
Yeah. I thought it was in that episode of Cagney and Lacey.
I know. I mean, I feel like I should be running away from someone.
You jumping on the ball bit of a car.
Yeah.
Gran Torino.
Is this how we're starting season 5? Without our normal, you got to start us off, Andy.
Oh, welcome to the Gooners Podcast. Could everyone hear that? Great new intro, says 95 Winston. Friday says, ooh, fancy.
I'm
the
the
beautiful
only one that
Becca
can
Rhodes
hear
is with, Rob Ford is with us, just saying crickets.
Absolutely. Hey, how you feeling, man? Everything good?
We may have a COVID scare. Let's just say that. But I'm powering through. Got my old drugs, and we'll just see how things go.
Dude, how come you're not wearing a mask right now? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well,
Waiting for the results.
We haven't potted in a while. You know, life lately seems to be getting in the way. What with you raising my child for me, me too busy eating. But you know, we're still going strong. We pod so infrequently these days that many people are comparing us to the Tuesday Club, but like a shittier American, less renowned version, like the Tuesday Club without the Tuesday or the club.
We're the Wednesday Club.
Yeah, we're the whatever day it happens to be club. Very exciting announcement coming today, but we're going to hold on a bit before the big reveal because we got so much to talk about. Welcome to Eon. Our good buddy Yoyan. I'm calling him Yoyan from now on. So the first big announcement is, dude, we got Jason Davies. We got him finally.
We did.
It is hard to get this guy, but we got him. Jace, welcome back to the Gooners Podcast, and thanks for helping us kick off season 5.
As always, boys, it's an absolute pleasure.
Did you get all of your yellow M&Ms you requested?
No, I don't have any of them. If there are any reprobates I want to pod with, it's you two. Nobody else delivers the levels of lunacy that you do.
Well, we appreciate that. That's what we're going for here, and we finally reached it after 5 seasons. So you're one of our oldest podcast buddies, definitely the Welshiest. Would it be fair to say that we're in love from a podcast to Jay's standpoint?
I hope so.
I mean, yeah. I think that's fair. That's fair to say. If there is any doubt about that, we have some photographic proof in case anybody wants to doubt the attention and love that we have for each other. And just some of these have been collected over the years, but let's see what else we got here. One more picture for the group. This was taken the last time I was over in England. We did a Romeo and Juliet scene together, and just lovely.
You should see where my hand is.
Yes. Speaking of hands, and speaking of the Tuesday Club, actually, by a show of hands, who here has ever seen Alan Davies' penis?
No.
I thought you were holding your hand up. I thought you were in preparation for that. So, Arsenal versus Liverpool, November 2018, Emirates Stadium, the bathroom just outside of Block 32 at halftime. I look to my right in the urinal, and there he is, Mr. Tuesday Club himself, and just two podcasters enjoying each other's company. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Of course, would you take a look? Would you take a peek?
No, I wouldn't. I remember I was Southampton away, and I went into the toilets, and Claude was next to me, and I know the man, and I didn't want to say hi to him whilst peeing and or looking at his schlong. Hey, I think it would be remiss of us, Mike, if we didn't just take a moment and have a moment of silence for the 55 members of Arsenal Football Club who have been lost this week.
Yeah, let's name them all. Can't.
That's a bit harsh.
We will get to that. But first of all, let's say hi to Bulgarian Gooner, to Matthew D'Souza. Let's talk about the FA Cup. Now, we're about the 97,000th podcast since the FA Cup ended, so we're not really going to do a blow-by-blow. But, reflections on the game, on the season, has it been a success for you? A couple minutes of your thoughts on that. And, of course, we will start with the man Jace. FA Cup winners for the 14th time.
Yeah, look, we did the live after show thing after the game, and it lasted 3 hours. I was so excited. Okay, going into it, I felt confident we could beat them, but they're a good side. You saw Mount, you saw Pulisic attack us the first 20, and you can see they are a really decent side. So, you're confident, but you know how dangerous the opposition are. I think what is summed up for us is that's pretty good. How Arteta is able to change our style of play, make those what you guys would call this was an American sports adjustments throughout the game. Make sure
that's an American term, adjustments.
In sports, it is. Yeah. Change the formation, we'd say. But
like clutch is another.
Clutch. Oh, yeah. Ding ding. But
I didn't bring my. I'm podcasting from my office and I don't have my bell. So
you're an absolute amateur. Okay, absolute amateur. No, but what a way to end the season. When you look at the season we've had, Jesus, the blight of the Unai Emery era. Just lurching from one pathetic excuse for performance to the next. The way the players are disinterested, the way we showed a lack of ambition week in, week out. Then Freddie, having the tea lady to help him coach in his 5 or 6 games together, because we're too cheap to get coaches in at the time. I know it's difficult, but that's the situation we were in. He needed help, and it didn't get any better. And even throughout sort of the Arteta time, we've seen a lot of bad in the midst of some great things and a new direction. So that game was just magnificent. The way we toughed it out, the way we came back from a poor start, and the way we finished it off. People lauding about Ceballos, and rightfully so. You had a great game after an atrocious start, but look who scores the 2 goals. It's all about Aubameyang. It's the Aubameyang season, and God help us if we didn't have him this season. Because
seriously,
we don't have next season as well. But I fuck the people who say, "Can't believe you losers are celebrating finishing 8th and winning the FA Cup." Can you imagine? Can you imagine Tottenham fans are saying that on Twitter?
Yeah, but come on now, let's lay it out on the fucking line here, okay? I'm glad you swore first. I can rip now. I know for years Arsene Wenger was fucking tired with the pressure. Oh yeah, you get top 4, but you don't get, you don't win trophies. Starts winning trophies, doesn't get in top 4, slaughtered again.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win.
Yeah, we can't win. So
you can't win.
Fine, fuck off.
Yeah. And we're not celebrating finishing. There was a post on a Facebook group from American supporters of Arsenal, and these are Arsenal supporters saying, remember when we used to celebrate 4th and it was a trophy. Now we're celebrating 8th because we won an FA Cup. We're not celebrating 8th, you numbskull. We're celebrating winning one of the biggest trophies, the cup trophies in world football. Now, Andy, you've gone on record multiple times as saying you'd rather win the FA Cup than the Champions League. So essentially, Arsenal has had a better 12 months than Liverpool then in your eyes.
Well, listen, like Jace made the face. It's different for every person. I remember the days growing up where the FA Cup was the biggest spectacle in football, and I proudly and fondly look back at those memories, and I see the Champions League as a huge trophy, but it more than comes with lifting the trophy is the money behind it. But regardless of that, to me, the season is a success from the sense that we did win a trophy. We also have to look at the whole season and where we started and where we are today. And for me, the success was the implementation of a manager who seemingly knows what he's doing with the club. And so hiring Arteta was the right move, and I disagreed with it at first. And we're seeing everything he's done from day one be almost perfection. And the only little blip for me on that perfection resume at the moment was Olympiakos, right? But at the end of the day, he was still inheriting a team that were just down on their luck, and he's turned them around. And ultimately, I think the season is a success because we attained Europe, we won a cup, and we're starting to move in the right position. We're starting to move forward, and I think we have the right manager to do it. So for me, I think that we did have a good season.
Would you rather have a season end in 5th because you lost 8 out of your last 9 games or whatever it was in Unai Emery's first season, the Everton game, the Palace game, all those games? Or would you rather have a season that ended the way that this one did, with the team coalescing and coming together and everything looking as bright as possible for next season, as long as he gets support in the transfer market?
Look, Mike, you could ask 16 teams, right, if they would have our season or theirs, and they would take ours.
Yeah, everyone other than the top 4.
Everyone other than the top 4. And there are probably teams...
Leicester would rather be where we are at the moment, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but arguably.
Because if you look at the end of last season, the rot had set in. You know, you could see Emery run out of ideas. He'd run out of options because of the Ramsey injury. You know, Auba and Lacazette carried us through the Valencia tie. Right, and we didn't have an answer to Jorginho in the final. It fell apart there. When Arteta took over, you know, these players were on their backside. People wanted to leave. They were devoid of confidence. We had ruined them. You know, you got people saying, "Oh, they're uncoachable." Bollocks. These are professional footballers. They're internationals. Of course they're coachable. They play differently.
Not by any old person, but by some people, by the right person, they are.
Exactly. And, you know, it's a massive credit to Arteta and the players. Look at your Xhakas, look at your Mustafis, look at your David Luizes. You know, it hasn't been a raging success because of Villa, Brighton. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We let ourselves down a long way.
That's the last bit that you have to get out of the way. We've actually gotten to where we can show up against big teams, which has been a problem. We've gotten to the point where the team seems to believe in its leadership. What we haven't gotten rid of yet is the shitting the bed every once in a while against teams that we should have no problem with. And that's the difference between us. This sounds ridiculous, but that's the difference between us and City, between us and Liverpool.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind, Mike,
talent as well, but
keep in mind, this is a sport, and we aren't guaranteed victories, and we lost less games than City did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
City, I think, lost to Norwich. They lost. I mean,
it's going to happen. Like, Liverpool, for as great as they were, shit the bed against Watford. It's going to happen. But as Jace pointed out, before Arteta, Xhaka was he had 2 feet out of this club. Mustafi couldn't even find his way onto the bench.
He does everything with 2 feet.
Right? But now look at 2 staples since Arteta came in have been Xhaka and Mustafi, and they've both played very well. We have not seen the 2 players we saw under under Emery. And if you go back to the Europa League Cup final last year, where we just got absolutely embarrassed, whatever Unai said to them after the match going into last season is why he's not a good coach, because there's no way in my mind they would have rebounded like that under Arsene or even Arteta, because something was said where the players lost every bit of respect for the man, because we went into last season completely void of any identity, and the players just lost it. And a good manager would have propped them back up and would have had them back on the horse, and credit to Arsene, he would have done that. And so Unai lost that team, and so was this season a success? No, but we played half of it under a manager who had lost the dressing room.
And if you look at that, I do apologise.
No.
Mikel Arteta's 28 games into his managerial career.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's had to deal with a global pandemic. If you look at the players before he came in, okay, they were willing. I know Xhaka was out the door, as you say, right? But they always fronted up for interviews or social media stuff. They always fronted up for that. So what he's done is he's given them leadership and a clear direction, and he's inspired them. And you look at the confidence that's flowing. I think you made exactly the right point of end of season to this. But you look at what a man with a bit of confidence in what he wants to do and a plan moving forward has done for these players. And it's magnificent to see them all work in tandem together. Sorry, I do apologize for cutting.
No, you're fine. And I think Owen made a great point here. Like, to galvanize a team halfway through a season while you're considered inexperienced is unbelievable. Top coaches would struggle to do that. There was a time where Carlo Ancelotti and Arteta were on the free agency board for a coach, and a lot of people that are Arsenal supporters wanted to go with Ancelotti. Look at how that turned out, right? The first couple matches we were drawing and he was winning, but the 10-year for Arteta and everything he's done since has led me to believe that because we won a trophy, the season is a success because we are heading in the right direction. And Mike, to your point, I would rather end the season the way we did than last season, right? So
yeah, I mean, our position was higher. We had European football through the league instead of, but I just feel so much better at the end of this season than I did at the end of last season.
Yeah,
last season seemed like an absolute missed opportunity. This season seemed like exceeding all expectations. And I want to say hi to Rhonda, who's listening to us or watching us in Facebook right now. It says we've grown in ways that are immeasurable this season, and that's absolutely right. Because if you just look at points, goals, goal differential for sure, and you look at those compared to previous years, it won't look like an improvement. But if you've watched us, it's an improvement. Just
look at attempts on our target. Look at attempts on our target now in comparison to where they were. Okay,
yeah.
Watford game aside, which was a bit, the last game of the season was a little bit of an anomaly. Okay, but the one thing that annoys me, people saying, "Oh, but Arsene was a tough act to follow." Unai Emery came in. I'm a big Wenger fan. Okay, I love Arsene Wenger. I've got a better relationship with Arsene Wenger than I have with my father. Do you know what I mean? I love the man. But I was right behind Unai Emery. And after, it was about November-ish, you just thought, this isn't right. The performances aren't improving. We're on a 22-game unbeaten run. Well, we were in the middle of it then. But the performances aren't getting any better. And there's no strategy running through the team. Do you know what I mean?
I was one of the last people to jump off of the Unai Emery bandwagon. Some people are still on it, believe it or not, but I was one of the last people to jump off. And, but you have to sometimes just say, you know what? I was wrong. I was looking at the wrong metrics. I was getting caught up. And, guess what? I was wrong about what I thought about that because, ultimately things bear out. Things happen on and off the pitch to make you change your mind. And
but when you look at
point, I was super ready for giving a guy like Arteta a chance.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at matches like just recently Villa, right? We lost the match, but you don't walk away from it thinking, "What the fuck was that?" There was no at least with Arteta, you can see that things were tried tactically. Just it faltered, and it's a sport. We're gonna lose. Under Arteta, we would lose, under Emery, we would lose matches, and we'd be like, "Well, it's the same shit." So I think we're heading in the right direction, and I'm super proud that we've got a manager who loves the club, who has a history with the club, who's won a trophy. You got to give credit to Arteta because in a very short space of time, he brought in a lot of his own backroom staff, which he had to pull together very quickly, and they seemingly have done an excellent job integrating with the players. And he seems like the type of manager who, the players are going to want to learn from. And I think when you have the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, Xhaka, when teammates call them and say, "What's it like playing for Arteta?" they're going to be positive in their response, right? Whereas that may not have happened under Unai. And so you always heard back in the day, players wanted to play for Arsene. Well, hopefully players are going to want to come and play for Arteta.
I think they absolutely already do.
Exactly. And that's what you want in a manager, right?
It can only get better. So here's a view of how Andy's feeling about next season. And
these jib jabs, Jace.
jib jab, Jace.
How fast was time in his hands?
I was working on that intro yesterday, and I FaceTimed him, and he literally said to me, "If you need anything from Jib Jab, I've got it." And I said to him, "I
no." So I have forced them in here no matter what. All right. So speaking of happy, hopefully Arteta being supported by finances, we got to get to redundancy gate here. And I have a feeling that we might have some differences of opinion here. But the first thing that I think we can all agree on is Arsenal rule number 1. We are not allowed to enjoy happiness and lack of conflict for more than 4 days before the other shoe drops. Arsenal rule number 2 is that no matter what the controversy is, no matter what it has to do with Mesut Ozil.
Yep.
Somehow. People will blame Mesut Ozil. So, Jace, before I go here, I think we can predict from your name on the podcast, which is Justice for the 55. But what do you make of the news? What it means? How it's being interpreted? Let's hear from you on that.
Right. First of all, look, the club's a business nowadays. Okay, it's never employed more people than it has now. This club is a different world to the club I started supporting as a kid. There were 28 employees back in the day or whatever it was. There's now 600 plus. Okay, it's a lot more complicated than it's ever been. Right? None of us here have seen the books. Right? None of us have seen the books, so we don't know what the true situation is. That's a fact. We don't really understand the implications of what coronavirus is going to have for us. We understand it short term, but longer term, we don't know when fans are going to be back in the stadium. We don't know when we're going to be able to generate the off-season tours, stuff like that. All these things generate money. The TV money. There's a knock-on effect on everything, and so whilst I am angry about the redundancies, I don't know if they're justified or not, okay? What it seems to me to be is, okay, the timing and the way it's been presented has been an absolute abortion. There's no other term to describe it. I read that statement and I felt physically sick. I wanted to slap whoever had written it, okay?
And it was like they were trying to be transparent and progressive with that statement, and they just failed miserably with that.
Okay, you go back to the Vinay and Raul video, okay? I don't understand how it takes them half an hour to speak so much bollocks and lies, okay, on basically a corporate promo. Okay, there's not a word from either of them, I believe, okay? Now, I know you've met the guys, right? But the thing is, okay, the way it was presented, the timing of it was absolutely horrendous. Now, then you look at, Mike hurts a cheeky git. Then you look at the people who are going, then you see it's Kagawa, whatever his name is, it's the scouting teams and what have you. And then you look at the 13.5 million quid we paid to Kier and Co last season, right? To the super agents. Our scouting network is being outsourced. Now, yes, you can turn around and say, we own Stats DNA. A lot of their guys have gone. So the way we use that has changed. Okay. But a lot of their guys have gone. We're unhappy with the way it was being used now. There's a number of metrics you use it for. In-play action for ourselves to measure our guys and, up-and-coming prospects, etc. But you still need a good scouting network. You saw Nacho Monreal today, pay tribute to I can't remember his name.
Kajagugu.
Yeah, Kajagugu. But so they have their hands in a lot of different pies. And I know it may not be the greatest example, but if you look at Dick Law started out as a scout in South America and became the head of recruitment against guys does the deals. I just think
I'm not sure that's anything to brag about. I don't remember a single thing that Dick Law ever did.
That will be a pathway in all sorts of different football clubs, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I just see it as COVID is a bit of an excuse to sort of have the final part of the takeover. You've got to remember the scouting network. Kajagugu was only put in place last year as head of recruitment. This isn't anything new. Do you know what I mean? The scouting network was restructured last season. So what's changed?
So I think the redundancies and the scouting thing are separate. I think the 55 people that were made redundant, a lot of those people were supposed to be employees at the Finsbury station, the store, that were made redundant before COVID. And I think that COVID has made the redundancies happen and whatever. I think with Arsenal, the complaint initially was, well, this isn't the Arsenal way. Well, at least they came forward and made a statement. As shitty as it was, a lot of other teams have not, right? So a lot of teams haven't come forward, and a lot of teams have been laying off. Like Spurs, it took them literally a week into COVID when they made all their staff redundant. We tried to keep as many people on for as long as we could. My personal opinion on this whole scouting thing, Mike, is we have to move forward, right? Take that off the screen. We have to move.
Waiting to see how long that would take you.
We have to move forward with the way football is changing. And if we want to cut out agent fees, if we want to work closely with agents, if that's the way that the super clubs are moving forward, we have to do the same. And I'm sorry, but if this Kagagao Zhao guy has been with the club for 15 years, all I've heard for 15 to 20 years is we almost signed that player. Right. We almost signed that player.
Sorry, can I cut in for a second? I can challenge on a couple of things, okay? Firstly, I think you're right, okay? You have to deal with situation. I think you're absolutely right there, but you have to have a mix of it. When you look at Kajagugu, okay, Cesc, Hector, Nacho, Santi, right? Martinelli. Now look at how much talent he's brought in and how much money that has saved us, because none of those guys are signed on exorbitant fees or anything like that, and they've all been quality additions.
That's over 15 years, though. I mean, that's...
But Jace, but
guys, not being funny.
Those are good examples, but
I heard it said the other day, oh yeah, but anybody could have gone to La Masia and found Cesc, but they fucking didn't, did they?
Well, no, that's not that's true. But I mean, compare those great identifications to whoever was doing the scouting at Dortmund, and it may I don't know how long he goes back, but it may have been our own guy.
But here's the thing. The reason why he's no longer with the club was because he has not done something in the last few years to be an employee of the club. Martinelli, great, but he was scouted by Manchester United. So,
why not Manchester United then?
But because someone at Manchester United didn't see the reason for him to be there, and we snagged him. That happens in football. I'm just thinking, like, if we're going to change the way that we are running ourselves as a club, this is going to happen. And I don't feel bad because, Jace, at the end of the day, if you were really good at your job and you were bringing in those, like if he had 15 current players that he said to the board, these are going to be Golden Boot winners, these are going to be Golden Boy contenders, then he's still going to be employee of the club, right? So in my opinion, just because he brought sentiment aside, he brought in great players in the past. That's not how we move forward. We have to be cutthroat. We have to move forward with the likes of Liverpool and City and do things the way that they are running data analytics and their scouting. And the one person who's sitting above this football club right now in Arteta saw how City were doing it and is trying to mimic that. And that's all I think is we need to move forward. That's the whole thing with Arsenal. Move forward, and we need to change the way we're doing things.
But I come back and I counter that with this then. So in the last 12 months, at the end of the Europa League final, Raul Sanley, he wanted to give Unai Emery a long-term contract.
But he's an idiot.
He's the guy in charge. He's the guy making this decision now. He got rid of Darren Burgess. Arteta came in. I can't believe how unfit these guys are. Now, I think Fredo makes a great point of Sven, isn't that? There were some good players. Auba, there were some horrors. Socrates. Oh my God, Socrates. Can't get that guy out of my mind. But you're always going to get hits and misses with signings. I accept that, okay? What I find it hard is you have to have the right mix. Do you know what I mean? If you get the right mix between your scouting network and your agents, then you should be okay. The 55, they're probably always going to have to go. But the way it's been done,
Yes, it was botched communication because, frankly, I mean, as far as the communication of it is concerned, it's been said, and I think that we have some numbers here, and you referred to them earlier in the show in your comments about the sheer number of at the beginning of things. I do not have full confirmation of these numbers. I haven't read through all the reports, but if this is accurate, we were already essentially joint second in the league as far as non-football related staff. This is commercial, this is hospitality, this is, I don't even know if this includes scouting or not, but even after 55 redundancies, we would be in a group of the top three that's even a far distance ahead of everyone else in those top 6 teams. So, it's relatively speaking, it very well probably would have happened if not for COVID. And unfortunately, COVID, I think probably, the fact that there's literally no one buying beer and pies and food and stuff in the stadium on game day, it's hard to continue to employ these people. And if you want to point to somebody, obviously the owner could continue to fund jobs if he wanted to, and do that. But I don't know that that losing people in redundant positions, if they're truly redundant. I mean, I haven't heard about Stu McFarland getting sacked, thankfully. Yeah. I haven't heard of Mark Brindle getting sacked. The people are or redundant are scouts and Rehab. People who relate to the game day experiences that we aren't really able to have right now. So who knows whether
they're being made redundant. They're not being fired. Like, that's another big difference here is, if tomorrow we found a cure for this pandemic and the world went back to normal in August, September, all of these people are going to get rehired into their jobs.
I don't know about that. I'm not so sure about that.
But people will get hired into specific roles that support game day, support stadium tours. And so the redundancies that were made, we don't know what positions they were in, but the majority of people are going to get hired back. There are also a lot of people that are still on the Arsenal Kroenke payroll that are not doing anything right now because the Kroenkes know in due time they're going to be needed to be called on, right? So
if it's a bloated payroll and a bloated non-football staff, then again, going from 590 to 540 when most teams are somewhere between 100 and 250, you have to take it in perspective. And of course, it's been blown out of proportion in many ways.
Arsenal fans blew something out of proportion.
Media blew things dealing with Arsenal out of proportion. It's hard to believe, but
what?
It's obviously. It's at the perfect time to, they probably thought it was the safest time to do this under the cover of the FA Cup, sandwich it in between the FA Cup and hopefully Aubameyang's announcement, get it out there, no one will notice and everyone will be sympathetic because of COVID. Boy, did they misgauge that. And
but that's an assumption that you're making is that, hey, we're going to use the Aubameyang to cover, because Aubameyang hasn't been announced yet. Jace, what were you going to say?
You've also got rehab guys in that. This is an Arse blog, and the rehab guy with Tierney, he's being made redundant, and there'll be a couple of others from that department by the sounds of things.
Well, they'll be hired back soon.
Well, I thought he was leaving on his own accord to go to another team.
No, apparently he's being made redundant. I think you're not mixed up with Gary Driscoll, who is the doctor who was going to Liverpool staying. But look. The reality of the business is that people are going to have to lose their jobs again, and that is horrendous. My biggest issue is the way it was done. When I look at it, I look part of it is a Raul clear out.
What would you? I agree with you that it was done poorly, but and this isn't to challenge you. This is a genuine question. What would you have done differently if you knew you had to drop these 55 people?
I'd have held off for a couple of weeks. I'd have held off. 3 or 4 weeks. To be fair, they'd be made redundant.
I don't know in the long run. If it happened right before the season started, what would?
It doesn't really matter. Hopefully, you've got signings in place by then, because there's never a good time. But that was the way it was worded. We have to get rid of them to sign big players. Do you know what I mean? You know, we have to get rid of all you 55 people so we can pay Willian 120 grand a week.
See, and I didn't interpret it that way.
I didn't either, and I think the club's generally done a fairly good job. Well, maybe they haven't done a great job of separating like football budget versus business budget. And I guess when they want to claim that they're skint, God, where's my bell? When they want to claim that they're skint, they talk about economic downturn, commercial revenues,
we get it.
All these other things.
Yeah.
When they want to reassure people that the team isn't going to go to hell, then they want to separate the two things out, and that's probably part of the problem here, is that everyone is assuming that that this is going to impact our play on the pitch, and they have to now come out and say that it won't.
I mean, there's operations finance, and then there's football finance.
That's
right?
What I'm saying.
They're completely separate. And so if your operations are running, and for people who might not understand what we mean, is operations are everything away from football. That's what keeps the lights on at the ground, everyone who runs the club outside of the players and the staff. If those people are not needed, you have and you're just spending money for no reason, like everyone else in the world who's been laid off because of this, you got to let them go.
And that's what we don't know. We don't know who the people are, and we don't know what their day-to-day roles were and how redundant it might have been. If you were an employee, like you said, at the Finsbury Park shop, and the Finsbury Park shop closes, are they supposed to take all those people in the armory so that you can't even move without bumping into
at the end of the day
into a rep?
Jason said it to start the pod. We run this club as a business, and every aspect is a business, from selling the drinks to the pies to the signing of players, and you have to make your wage cuts where they happen. Again, I don't think this recruitment situation has anything to do with the redundancy thing. I think Drew made a good point in our chat group earlier, was that under Arsene Wenger, he had scouts all around the world that lived in certain countries that were either contracted and or part of the Arsenal family. And if those people haven't done much in the past few years, Jace, you could turn on FIFA 21 tomorrow and identify a player just as quick as someone else could. It's just the world, the way the world is turning, right?
My son knows some of these names of up and coming players that play in like for Udinese. I mean, like, he knows them because
absolutely.
He's on the Xbox every day.
I could take a 7-minute video of Oliver playing football when he's 10 years old and hashtag it, and it could take one scout at Real Madrid being like, "Hold on a second," and I get a phone call. That's how media has changed, right?
And
absolutely. So gone are the days where you have these old guys who sit in the stands and watch Jason play football 15 times and then going up to him and saying, "Hey, we've seen you for a while." Now I can turn on a video and press play. Yeah. And I can sit in a room with Arteta and do that and go, "Look at this guy." So it's just I think, a different world.
To try to cap off the scouting thing, Sven Mislintat pointed out when he got here, everyone, has been talking about this lately, that our network was bloated. It was just dysfunctional. It was bloated. It wasn't the communications weren't good. And, to the extent that perhaps that may have led to a little bit of our reputation of dithering in the transfer market, maybe it wasn't just Arsene liking to have cups of coffee with people's mothers and then leave without a contract. Maybe it had something to do with that. He recommended a long time ago that we pare that down. Raul didn't want any part of that. I think Edu came in and basically said the same thing and got his way. And
they shook up the scouting network last season.
That was the beginning of it.
Well, they put Kajagugu in place last season in this role. Okay,
yeah.
So it's not. If it needs to be done, fine. It needs to be done, right? I'm not against that. It's the way it's been done has really angered me. It's been protracted. It's been poor. It's all those words, and you add on top of it the Mesut Ozil aspect of it.
Well,
shameful.
Anyone who is tweeting out garbage that these players could have been these people's jobs could have been saved if A, B, or C just took a salary reduction. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you're completely missing the point.
They already have.
I know.
They took
and apparently they're not happy right now, and I'd be interested to see how that turns out because.
And this is the next thing. Sorry, I do apologize, but the Mesut Ozil thing. Oh, Mesut Ozil gets 250 grand a week. Well, let's get something fucking straight. Your owner's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking billionaire. And the employees are his responsibility. Now, he's given them redundancy. It's not the end of the world. The way it's been done within the club setup has been absolutely disgraceful. Right? Yeah. But when if we want to put into perspective, millionaire versus billionaire, if it was for a second, is it 11 days? 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 and a half years.
Yeah.
Around there.
It's a big disparity.
And so, the Mesut Ozil aspect of this, and I was on Sky, and typical fucking Sky, they're a disgrace to humanity of an outfit. But, the first thing they bring up is that, and you just think, oh, get off it. To be fair to Mesut Ozil, he does his charity work. The club sold him up the river on the Uyghurs in China.
You don't have to defend him, man. I mean, look, whatever you think about him on the pitch, and or even off the pitch, no one wants him, the Mesut Ozil era, to be done at Arsenal more than me, maybe as much as me. But to blame him for any of this is just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and guys, we got to think here too, right? So like in today's world, and it's for all of business, COVID is a great way of reducing your staff with no need with no excuse to fire. So I see it every day in my industry that they can turn to executives and say, hey, we're going to give you a package because we can't afford to pay you anymore for COVID. Actually, we're letting Mike go because he was a fucking terrible employee, and we can do this under the guise of COVID. And when the world rebounds, we can rehire, right? So I don't give a shit what Arsenal are doing. I don't feel bad for the 55 people. They'll find new jobs. They'll figure it out. The British government will back them.
Package as well. They will have a package.
Yeah, they'll get a package. They'll find new jobs. But this is the way business is. We got to move on with the show.
About two things, Andy. You know about packages and you know about scouts.
Well, someone who's getting apparently a new package is Captain Aubameyang. Lots of rumors swirling around through I want to say respectable journalists, and then John Cross trying to piggyback off of them that Alba is about to sign a new 3-year deal. I think we could all probably say we're happy about that, right? I mean, no one's going to argue against it.
I'm certainly not. I mean, to say that he's going to be too old at the end of the day. I mean, he's not too old. We need him back. 250 is perfectly reasonable.
Jace, speaking of people who are too old, is Willian too old to join Arsenal? Keeping in mind that he seemingly has been told, or excuse me, we're being told he's going to take a pay cut to come to us for free from a club who still want him. So Chelsea are offering him a contract, which he's turning down to come to us for less money.
I think it's the biggest sort of bollocks I've ever heard in my life.
Doesn't make sense.
Reportedly 100 grand a week.
Let's get something straight to Canada. What's the signing on fee going to be?
Yeah.
What's the age?
£147 million.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I mean? What's the age?
Installments, though.
It's 4 installments. 4 years. But you have fees on top of that, okay? Then there's Raul's kickback of Kia. Do you know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah,
so
at some point,
let's not get tied up in the Kia thing. I want to get tied up.
He's on the hit list.
I want to get tied up in the football side of this. Okay, so arguably one of Chelsea's better players this season, kept them in a lot of matches, who is coming over to us. I see it as a good move for Arsenal because whilst we have some depth at wingers, we can allow some people to move on loan. But we are going through a rebuilding stage. And there was a time where City, before their billions, hired a couple Arsenal players in their early 30s and won a few trophies. I'm okay with this transition or this transfer coming in because it allows some of our younger players to learn from someone who's been there, done that. He's pretty much been in every competition, almost won every competition. He's going to be a great asset to our locker room. And I'm okay with it. And, if his weekly wage is only $100,000 and we're paying him a big signing on bonus, good for him, right? Awesome. But from a football standpoint, I'm actually happy with this. I think it's going to be a decent move. We need depth.
Yeah. Well, and like Sebi said, if Arteta wants him, if he's identified him as someone that he thinks will add to the club life next season, then I'm all for it. Do I think it probably spells the end for Lacazette? I think so. I don't know how you carry Lacazette, Saka, Pepe, Martinelli, Willian, all and find places for them all to play at the same time. But if anybody could do that, Arteta could. But
but Mike,
I think that might be the end of Lacazette, though.
But remember, whenever you play City or you watch City play, they have riches who come off the bench.
Yeah.
We have not had that for a long time where we could say, oh, look at this. We're subbing off Willian for Martinelli. We're subbing off Martinelli for Pepe. Like, having strength in depth is great.
Well, I agree.
We
agree,
know that
that's not something that we're really known for.
No. And that's why I'm okay with this. And we know Reece Nelson's going to be a baller. We know Arteta loves him, right? Arteta's probably going to identify, like, Willian might be that player who can come in and say to Reece Nelson, here's how I do it, whatever. Does that mean that some of our youth maybe get knocked back a peg or two? Sure. But that's football, and we need to win today. We don't need to worry about bringing these players through, in my opinion. If that means that a couple need to go out on loan, great, right? But what's going to make Nelson and Saka better? Competing against players who are better than them for a starting 11 position.
Well, and we have to start having some of these players who are surplus to requirements but good have sell on value, and that where we can start generating some player trading profits like a Dortmund, like a Liverpool has, and you can't do that if you're constantly one injury away from having a not very good 17-year-old lacing up the boots for you. So,
but this is the thing about it, okay? As Seb said, okay, if Arteta wants him, fine, right? That is the only thing that actually matters. But me playing devil's advocate here, he's a right winger, and everybody says, "Oh, he can play left wing and he can play attacking midfielder." Blah, blah, blah. No. He's a right winger first and foremost. You've already got 77 million quid's worth of talent on the right wing, who's had a hell of a season. If you look over the last 6 or 7 years, actually his Premier League stats, Williams, aren't that great. His assists and goals aren't in double figures every season. He's gone through some seasons only contributing 3 goals. Right? You look at Pepe's contribution this season, spectacular. And to be fair, the boys had a difficult season. And then you look at our area of need. We've got wide players. We've got Reece Nelson. We've got Nicola Pepe. We've got Aubameyang. We've got Saka. We've got Martinelli. You've got Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette through the middle. Okay, if they got a deal going through for Lacazette, I'd be disappointed to see him go, but fine. But I'd be okay with it. The most I would have been okay with it over the last few years. I'd be okay with it right now. Yeah, because of the youth that's coming through. It's disappointing, but it happens.
And he still has value. He still has value as opposed to a 33-year-old who's reaching the end of a contract. But
this is the thing: a 32-year-old has no sell-on value. One injury, bang, it's done. Okay, and he's going to struggle to come back. But our biggest area of need is the midfield. Our midfield, for all that, like Xhaka and Ceballos have been a lot better towards the end of the season. They've struggled against bang average midfielders at times. Okay, we didn't totally dominate against Chelsea. Against Leicester, we were outplayed. We need to bring in 2 good midfielders and Ceballos, and we need to get Torreira and Guendouzi out the door.
Harsh, but maybe true. Just to my point with,
how's it harsh though?
Because we love these guys. Well, maybe not Guendouzi. But
the Guendouzi thing, I get. Like, the guy is a cancer and he's burnt bridges.
Torreira, good player, but
he's a good player. He just hasn't found his foot in English football, and that happens. We saw it with Jose Antonio Reyes, where we all wanted him to be this dynamite player, and he was everywhere except for England. So just some players don't cut it. What bothers me with Torreira is a lot of his last, if you look at the last 25 starts, most of them came under Unai before he got hurt, and he was playing as a fucking attacking midfielder, right? So, it's just like we
that
never
just ruined him, though. I mean, I think that ruined him.
But we never got to truly unleash this little lion that we and there were games and matches where we saw what was there. And I made a comment today, and I think on Twitter we keep selling Lucas Torreira every fucking transfer window, and he's still here. Every transfer window we hear that he's going to leave, and he's still here. So looks like we're in for a couple other players, but we'll leave it there because we could spend hours going around the transfer merry-go-round. So we have a big announcement. Mike and I are both fortunate in our lives that we can do this for fun. We don't need to make money doing this. We don't need to profit off of this to keep things going. And we've always said that any money that we do make, we're going to give to our charity. Well, we've decided that the biggest issue, and a lot of people have been asking, where have we been? It's just been our time. Like, just finding the time to do these pods has been really difficult. And we figured what better way to do that? If we're going to spend time doing this, we should probably make a little money doing it, So we've set up a Patreon. And Mike ran the finances and figured out kind of an analysis of what it would cost for us to do this on a weekly basis and make some money. And so Mike, let's Mike Hernandez already wants to pay.
Yeah.
Owen saying finally these guys are going to let me give them money. Rob Ford and Becca seemingly want to give us money. So Mike, let's pull up the Patreon now.
I before I do that, I just want to say, this has really been a tough decision for us because
it has, because we've never wanted a paywall.
And we just, between the charity and just the fact that, quality content, we just thought that it was appropriate, and we don't want to be considered, as going along with the crowd. We don't want to have people point out to us in the past that we said we would never do this. Let's just move forward. And so here's kind of, what we have going on here. Andy, walk us through this, if you will.
Yeah,
this is the Patreon page. You can find it on patreon.com/TGP for the Gooners Podcast. And there's 3 levels.
Pennies on the dollar here. So for just under 1,000, you're allowed to listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
We feature you in user questions.
That's a monthly fee. I mean, I don't want to be accused of advertising things.
No. We have a special Patreon, which is about $4,999. Again, you're allowed to listen to the pod. We'll give you compliments.
You get a free user question as well.
Free user question, and we will send you a signed 8x10 photo of us.
Well, in some of them, it'll be of us. I mean, we can't do that every month. But some 8x10 pictures, like we'll send you an 8x10 picture of like a beer or something like that. But some of them, like around the holidays and stuff, they'll be of us. My
favorite, and I think the biggest bargain, Mike, is the All Access Patreon. Now, a lot of this, when I was looking through the creation and the idea, I really gathered from that buck-toothed fucking skinny cunt Lee Gunner, because this, my friend, allows you a custom t-shirt. This, my friend, is probably not the most comfortable, very thick Hanes. Like, you're not going to want to wear this when it's warm out because you're definitely going to sweat. But this is a custom image.
Let me try to get a close-up on that, because I want it to really kind of...
You want it to pop. I mean, this is going to pop. You're on the $1,000, Mike.
I know. I'm unzooming here. All right. I can't close up on this T-shirt here, but we'll tweet it out later on.
We're going to tweet it out. But dude, scroll down to the options here, because...
Oh, can I do the options?
You can read through them for under $10,000. It's a bargain.
For $9,999.99, you are allowed to listen or watch the Gooners Podcast. You also get compliments of Andy and Mike. Now, one is enough, but both is amazing.
No, we'll allow you to compliment us, is what that means.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. That makes more sense, to be fair. You got exclusive T-shirt. I mean, I'm not being funny. There's sweatshops in Bangladesh which are going to knock these out, especially for you. You get a free user question. Then you get a monthly signed 8x10 photos. Now, who they're going to be of, we don't know. But, to be fair, Mike and Andy are supplying this. Then you get...
My next one is my favorite because we will actually take the time for the reasonable cost of $99.99 per month to text you the score of the Arsenal game after it's over. We know how big Arsenal supporters you are. We know that you can't go without for that long, so we will text you the score. And that's not all that we'll text.
You don't have to. Right? You don't have to watch a game, do you?
No. I mean when you're kind of upset, if you're not feeling it, you don't have to watch the game. You will still know what the outcome was because we will text you. And we'll text you late at night as well, kind of when we're, kind of like, you up and that sort of thing.
Becca, whatever you do not answer a late night text from Mike.
I will tell you this, Jason.
Becca can't hear you the card out right now.
Jason, there is nothing I hate more than waking up in the morning to see an unread text message from Mike Feinberg.
I can imagine. But
please don't say my last name over the free air.
To be fair,
that's part of the all access packages. You get to know what my last name is.
Well, and then
you've given exclusive content all season. Who else has given the listeners Josh Kronk?
No one.
Who?
Kronk.
Who? Nobody else. Nobody else has done that. Okay. Also, you didn't misrepresent the guy, which is a great credit to you. Okay. As well as that, who annoyed Granit Xhaka at the presser?
Mike.
Yeah. I didn't see, let's see. And another guy that does a Patreon was there, and he didn't do anything to annoy.
He didn't do it.
He just sat in the back and laughed at me.
Also, he turned up at a presser.
I'm not going to name any names, but, Podfather.
Looking smart.
Yeah. I actually, in the press box area, called John Cross a cunt, which Mike yelled at me because I was being too loud. I mean, guys, you are funding human beings here. We are as authentic as it gets. Okay, we don't try and sell negativity. We don't try and sell positivity. We give you real life as it gets. And honestly, Mike, for $9,999.99, that's a bargain. And we forgot to mention, if you go with the all access Patreon, the top of the line, okay, you get access to this pod 15 minutes before everyone else.
Yeah. So you and in those 15 minutes, you're going to see things like me sitting here eating while I'm waiting for Andy to log on 1 minute before we're supposed to go live. I mean, that you don't get that anywhere else.
No.
I know. I know. That the behind the scenes stuff is really interesting and more interesting than our behind the scenes. So, we may at some point make that part of the special $49.99 package. We have to see how it goes, but right now that's all access because we really want to drive subscriptions in that area. Let's take a look. We were so nervous about rolling this out. I want to see kind of what the reaction is from our loyal users and our fan base. And so we've got some suggestions. We've got some things here. Eowyn is gonna starve his. I know that. He's gonna starve his son or child, I should say.
You might get his name right.
Yeah. Well, that special Patreon level, I will actually learn the pronunciation of your name. Andez is already signed up. We've just gotten a notification on our cell phone.
I need to put this on record because it's just the people we are. Mike, you still have an outstanding bill of $15,000 for that car ride to the stadium. Gas isn't free. That's all I'm going to say.
Prior to the Arsenal game in Denver last year, Becca, her beautiful husband James, and Mike Hernandez got a free ride to the stadium from Andy, and at that point we weren't charging, but we always in the contract that you signed was that retroactively we could impose a charge. And unfortunately, it's come to that now.
So we've got. I mean, listen, guys. The feedback here
that's
is
that's absolutely uncalled for, Owen.
Yeah,
that's I don't see why you would do that.
You've been notched down to the entry level Patreon. We're still going to take the money for the full one.
Yeah, look how beautiful! I just can't post it. I can't post a picture of Becca without commenting on how absolutely beautiful she is.
Yeah. So I don't know that there is a podcast.
I've got a coupon for you, Becca, for whatever of the 3 levels.
I don't know that there's a podcast that's been more deserving of this. I mean, we're entering our 5th season. We just surpassed, 6 million views with podcast downloads on iTunes. It's time now, guys, for us to step it up.
Yeah, I mean, I have noticed in the times where we podcast regularly, there's less food coming in. I mean, what I make an hour in my regular job is, would pay for 1,000 of these all access Patreons a month. And for me to take an hour and a half out of my day to talk to Andy and to talk to incredible guests like Alan Smith, like Michael Thomas, like Lee Dixon, and like Jay, is just, it's a cost. It's a net loss that we have to make ourselves for.
Yeah. That time, Mike, where we were in the pub last summer having a beer with Ray Parler, I thought to myself, this is a waste of my time.
Yeah, because I had a client call that was scheduled for that exact time, and I skipped it, and instead I just talked to Ray Parler. Yeah. And I need to recoup that, and so this is what we've come up with. Matthew is you could have just done one without doing both, but if you've got enough money to go around, then so be it. I mean, we support princes from all countries. We don't, we're happy for that.
Yeah. Do we have any user questions, Mike?
Yeah, well, we have one, and then let's open it up to the chat, and then we'll move on. And after the pod, we're just going to go to the page and start kind of hitting refresh to see how how it starts coming in. So anybody in the chat has a user question, serious or not, feel free to put it in. We did hear from Christian, aka the 312 Gooner from Chicago. Which FA Cup win in the last 10 years, or frankly the last 7 years, has been the most enjoyable for you? And as always, we'll start with Jace. Most enjoyable of the 4, and why?
2017, I thought was special. 2013, the first one in a while was, and the drama behind that was magnificent. Okay, but 2017, nobody gave us a hope. I heard it described by one of the who was it? I don't know who described it this week, that Chelsea were on the beach. They'd won the title, they were on the beach. No, they were going for the double. And we were such massive underdogs for that game. And they'd be the best team in the land by a mile. Conte was just, you had them just right for his style of football. And that day, Rambo and Xhaka dominated Conte and that much vaunted and very good Chelsea midfield.
Holding a murder record.
Yeah, well, his first start of the season, to do what he did, just magnificent. Holding, getting into Costa's head. Just that was it for me. But Saturday was special as well. It's hopefully it signals the start of a new era for us. It was such a magnificent victory, but personally for me,
to the damn question. You have to pick one.
Sorry, apologies in Carpenter and the shit out of it.
No, I'm not telling you to hurry up. I'm saying 2 that you can't decide between, because the question was which one.
Yeah,
so you're going with 2017 against Chelsea. Yeah. Okay, Andy, what are you going with here?
I'll probably go with the whole match, just because it did end the drought. This one is special just because of, I think our captain during that FA Cup just lifted this one, and it's kind of kickstarting this new regime. And but no, I would probably say the first one, because that was just weight off of the back of probably every Arsenal supporter, right?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that 100%, because the way I judge which is the most enjoyable is the way I felt when it was over. And you feel happy with all of them, but like 2014, I'll never forget that. Watching it in the supporters club pub out in San Francisco with my wife, 9:30 in the morning, headed out on a trip to Napa Valley, and just the perfect way to start a vacation, the perfect way to end a drought. The way it happened, where after 8 minutes you're down 2-0, are you kidding me? And then just gradually came back and dominated. I watched before the FA Cup, this last one. I woke up very, very early, and I watched all three of the other FA Cups in sequence, leading up to 12:30 Eastern when the FA Cup kicked off. And I still can't believe that game. That was one of the most epic FA Cups. I know there's been a lot of them, but that's one of the most epic FA Cups ever. And the fact that it ended a 9-year drought, it just, to me, that's the best. And everyone on top of that's been gravy. It's been fun. The Chelsea narrative has been great. I love that we've just become this Wembley master of having it as a second. 2014 was it for me.
Do you know, the after story of 2014 is brilliant as well. The presentation.
You mean how Arsene didn't step down and we hire Pep Guardiola? That after story?
No. Come on. But with the way you had Sir Jack giving it large, still drunk, from the night before.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that was really, really special from my perspective, looking at it as I consider myself a foreign fan. I'm not English. I'm a Welshman, as you can guess.
No.
I know, shocking, innit? But Bryce Larson's video of Gooners all over the world, from Memphis to Mumbai.
Watch his Twitter, because he's working on another one, I think, for this season. Bryce does great work. I met him up in Boston one time, and kind of shy, as far as I could tell, but a master with these montages.
He comes across a decent guy, but I mean,
very much so.
Yeah, but that video and the way it did the rounds and the way I think everybody it made you realize what a global club we are.
Yeah.
Okay, you can have a look at Twitter all you want, but when you see people in bars, if you're in Islamabad or whatever, you're not drinking, you're not on the beers. Do you know what I mean? But you stood there, and the passion in those crowds.
That's one reason why I'm never moving there. But I mean, full respect to everyone there. But
you don't look like you're going to be here, to be fair.
So,
is there any truth I have a user question. Is there any truth in the Coutinho? So Laith commented that he had heard from sources that Coutinho was at Colney today, and then there were Getty images of Coutinho playing or training with Bayern Munich today.
Well, he literally could do both in the same day. I mean,
he could, but it's very unlikely.
It is. Laith, Laith, I've never known as trafficking in fiction or sensationalism. So, I mean, I tend to take things he say, somewhat seriously. But and he's gone beyond tweeting it. He's written basically a piece for the fanzine that's essentially saying that he's there. So.
Man City have just gone up on Real Madrid in the 9th minute.
Oh, I forgot all that was on.
See, and that's another thing, guys. I mean, you're getting live updates and interruptions of our podcast. I mean, what other media? No one does this.
You've also got the photo evidence from Coutinho at Arsenal Football Club at Colney. Normally, we're used to seeing a different angle, like with Aubameyang walking by from the other direction. But Coutinho was so fast, and he had such good close control with that ball there. Don't mind the fact, as it was done on Twitter, that his left leg is not connected. We'll fix that. We have very good medical people, as long as they're not redundant.
The camera never lies, does it? Never.
Yeah. So anyone who doesn't believe Lakes, it's all proved right there. Proven right there. So We do have some other user questions that have popped up. One serious one, we might as well get to that, from Fredo. Things you've never heard in the same sentence, serious and Fredo. Do you see any future at the club for Rob Holding? I love Rob Holding. I loved when he finally broke into the squad and then goddamn knee blew apart. But Andy, I mean, given the fact that we're rumored to sign another center back from Lille, Gabriel, we have Saliba coming in. We know Luiz isn't going anywhere. I mean, how long can Rob Holding be fourth or fifth pick? And is he going to reach his potential?
Great question. And obviously not being part of, I mean, this is going to surprise a lot of people, but not being part of Arteta's setup, I just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I do feel like, personally for me, there have been matches that Rob Holding has played in where he has been fucking class. And those matches, Jace, hold on for a second. FA Cup final against Chelsea, FA Cup final against Chelsea. I mean, he has done things in matches where he has stepped up and you could see a player where you could say this is Arsenal caliber, right? He could be a great center back. But more often than not, he hasn't been a reliable center back for me. So I just, the guy's in his mid-20s. I don't know how many more chances he can get. Callum Chambers, on the other hand, as we saw before this injury, and as we've seen throughout his career, has stepped up and played pretty well in almost every fixture he's been in. There's been so if you had to choose out of the two, I would say Holding is probably the more likely to depart.
And it would be nice to not have to thrust Chambers into action too soon after he recovers, because we've seen what our defensive players have struggled with after major injuries, and it's not pretty.
No.
So if he can literally be on the bench and play 60 minutes or 70 minutes out of every League Cup game or Europa League group stage game, and just recover and get to full strength, we might have a real player.
We are looking to buy a center back, but we've also purchased a center back in Pablo Mari too.
Oh, I keep forgetting about
him. And we unfortunately, with his injury, hopefully he'll be back for the beginning of next season. But we've already purchased a center back. So I would, what I would prefer to see is Socrates and probably Mustafi go before Holding, personally. Jace, what do you think?
The sad thing is, okay, you look at Holding and Chambers, they were England age grade partners through, I think it's 3-4 England age grade teams, okay? They won the Toulon tournament, I think, together.
Yeah.
Excellent pairing, and that was the hope that they'd become the Arsenal pairing at centre-back. Unfortunately, injuries have played their part, and the way the squad hasn't really come together in the past. With the new additions, with the sheer volume of centre-backs we've got now, I just don't see it. I think they'll get value out of Rob Holding this season. I think they'll get value out of Callum Chambers next season. I really like Callum Chambers. I think Dinos Mavropanos could be the dark horse in all this and come through. But Mari, I think it's an awful big risk on Mari. You're talking about a guy who's been nothing more than a journeyman footballer, and not even a very successful journeyman footballer. Up until last season, he's had one good season and we're signing him in the back of that. Well, Sebastian Scolacci was a far better player in his day than Mari's ever been. And he screwed up for us, so look out for Mari. I hope I'm wrong, but...
Hold on. I'm just going to pause this while I go tweet out that you just said that.
Scolacci, in his day, he really was. Sebastian Scolacci had a great career until he came to us. And it went down the toilet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Mari has the benefit of having gotten hurt before he really came down to earth with his play.
Now, Jace, what's the difference?
People remember is that he played well for 10 games.
Jace, what's the difference between the argument or the statement, if Arteta wants Willian, we're okay with it. If Arteta wants Pablo Mari, we should be okay with it, right?
I thought Mari came in before.
No, Mari came in after, because Mari was at Man City when Arteta was the obviously on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, again, if we're going to follow that idea of William, then I'm going to say the same with any player. If Arteta's saying okay, then I'm okay with that.
And this is the thing, okay, Mate. If Arteta wants him, great. I'm behind it all the way, okay? But you still have to have an honest opinion on a player.
Oh, sure. You
know what I mean? For all this thing, but Arteta wants him. Great, Arteta wants him. Arteta's job's going to rely on him. Arteta's job's going to fucking rely on him. That's fine. But you know what we do? We give honest opinions. Sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes you look like absolute dickheads. And sometimes you look
all the time.
But it's a bit of fun and we're honest about it. We don't say things because we're sat in the Datsun and somebody's upset us. Do you know what I mean? And we could cry like a little girl.
Well, yeah, we're not throwing a player off the team because he had 2 bad runs in form and then thinking that by saying, oh, well, fair play, you had a good game, that everything's made whole because we're not outrageous cunts who hate their lives. Owen has a question. I actually like this one a lot.
Top new contributor to our good friends at the Gooner Talk TV.
Yeah. How are you saying his name, Mike? Eon?
Eowyn.
Okay, yeah. Owen is asking, obviously we love both, but if we had to bet on either Saka or Gabriel Martinelli becoming our biggest star, who would you take a punt on? This is a trick question, okay? Because we all know that the biggest star at Arsenal Football Club is going to be Eddie Nketiah, okay?
Yeah,
so this is a trick question, but I'm going to answer it first, and then I'm going to hand it over.
He's made it. He's already made it, and next year is he takes the leap. No one in their right mind would ever think that he couldn't make it or couldn't have made it at Arsenal.
I think that I'm going to take a punt on both because we have what I believe to be 2 superstars in the making. No, I think Martinelli is going to have a bigger stardom than Saka, only because I think Martinelli is going to be that player who has the Ronaldo capabilities of just doing something absolutely absurd, which we've seen him do early into his career, like the goal against Chelsea, where it's just like he could just take a moment and make it magical. I think he's going to have that capability. I think Saka is going to be solid. He's going to be a player that we're going to rely on a lot, but Martinelli's just going to have that X factor where you go, God damn, like how like Henry used to do it. Out of nowhere, Henry would just turn the game on its head, and you'd just be like, well, where the fuck did that come from? Where he could literally do nothing for 89 minutes, but there was 60 seconds of magic, and he won you the game.
I agree. Martinelli, I just wish we would have been able to see more of him this season, but he's a game changer. Saka is going to cause nightmares for right backs for years to come, but Martinelli is going to be a guy who's going to score us goal after goal after goal if we ever can get him in the starting 11 regularly when it's time comes. The other reason I think it's obviously going to be Martinelli is Jake played in a tournament recently on FIFA where he had to play as Arsenal, which was no chore for him. It was fine. But he would put Martinelli in the 60th minute, and dude was so fast, and he just was that. I mean, to me, I don't need scouts to tell me Martinelli is going to be the better player of the two. But I'm well chuffed to have both of them on the team.
Do you know how great it's going to be, Jason, and how often we're going to hear Saka to Martinelli and then goal celebration?
I got to be honest, okay? Yeah, I think Nelson's the forgotten man in this as well, because I think there's a lot of people doubting him at the moment, but he had 6 or 7 Bundesliga goals last season.
Smith Rowe.
Oh,
not a winger, but I mean everyone thinks he's going to be the next Luka Modric.
He's got some growing to do. He's got brilliant skills, but I'm so excited by the both of them. Nelson, I think Saka, because Saka had a dip this season, and he came back from it, and I really admire that. But I think I've got to agree with the both of you. I think Martinelli's got X factor, and in fact, he's got triple X factor. This boy is King Dong. You know what I mean? This boy can go some. He got pace. He loves scoring goals. He's just got, he's everything you dream of being in a footballer. I just love him, and I can't wait for him to come back from injury.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this one up next. Matthew D'Souza, do you see Jose imploding midseason and Kane leaving next summer? The answer is yes. From Fredo, very serious question. At what Patreon level do I pay for Andrew to leave Denver and make it to Gooner? We've been 6 years for this, even though I've only known you for 4 years. I've been waiting for 6 years. Is this year going to be the year? Well, obviously we have to wait to see whether there is one or not, but maybe it'll be a virtual Gooner.
And two things, right? First, until Gooner decide to change the schedule of when I always go to Mexico with my family and do it around my schedule, Fredo, and I know that you're one of those people that can make that happen. So
yes, Fredo is on the organizing committee.
That's step one. And then Fredo, step two is somewhere in my contract, it does state that I cannot be in the same place with Mike to take away from his attention. And I've shared this quite a lot. And so that's another workaround.
I'd be willing to make an exception because I think I've built enough of a cult following that, there's enough for both of us. As long as Troops isn't also there at the same time, because the three of us and it's over.
When on the American tour last year, there's you, Lodato, and Shredder in a bar.
Oh yeah,
and you even abused me from there.
Absolutely. Chris Lodato is one of my favorite people I met on that leg of the tour. I'd known him on Twitter. He's out of Orlando, right?
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. He texted me or responded to one of our tweets today. But yeah, him and Shredder in Charlotte after the Charlotte game, absolutely out of our minds. Was made for a pretty good night, and it wouldn't have been as good if Andy had been there.
No. I agree with that.
He would have been sitting in the corner with his old-fashioned, one of them, not multiple, and in his smoking jacket and waiting for people to come up to him, and
Fredo's made the comment.
It would have harshed my mellow.
Fredo's made the comment, but Mike can get drunk and pass out, and then I'm fine. Why do I have to go to Goonagra for that, Fredo?
You just take over, yeah. We can do that on Zoom.
That's just, we do that on Zoom every week.
All right. Fredo. Oh, see, in our contract, we have only one of us on the screen at the same time. So, any other user questions before we call this a wrap?
There's been a couple. I think Mike Hernandez asked here, and then I think Matt Gunner asked on Twitter just regarding Willock, and do we think he's going to be in the team?
Matt Gunner related? Is Matt Gunner related?
I don't think so. Is it Matt Gunner? There's someone on. Hold on.
No, it's Matt Gunner. It's Matt Gunner 32, but I wonder if he's related to any other Gunners.
Yeah. So they're both asking about Willock. Personally, he's the one player out of all of the youth we have coming through where I just have not seen enough creativity and or decision making where you just think that he always gets to a certain point and then he either loses his mind on should I shoot, should I pass. And for me at this age and this level, he should have that already. So what
would you say to him if you saw him during this month-long break before the next season about his? I mean, if you had a chance to say something to him, what would you say at this point? Given that
Hey Joe, can we get a quick soundbite for our Gooners in the USA podcast? Because I think we were still called that at the time, or whatever. And I know what I wouldn't yell at him, Mike. Verbally assault him.
I think at this point, what you're basically saying is you're not sure whether he can make the team or not. So for me to say good luck making the team is a nice gesture. You're just talking behind his back. By the way, Ray Anderson.
I don't know Ray, but Ray's my new favorite person.
Yes, I don't recall ever seeing Ray's name on the users, but yes, I appreciate that. About 3 to 6 months where that will not be happening coming up because I'm back on the horse again.
And I agree with Ray. I think Willock should go out on loan somewhere.
Yeah.
Get him out on loan in a championship side where he can play every week. He can be the big fish in a small pond and really kind of run things, and we'll see where things go.
I tell you what, everybody's forgetting at the moment, okay? Willock's had more appearances this season than most of the squad.
He has.
And when Arteta's asked him to come on, he's done that job to a T. Arteta's been really happy with him. I do agree with you, though. I think, he needs minutes. He needs to grow in that position. It's a really difficult position to play. And fingers crossed he makes it, because he seems like a really good guy. But what you should say to him is, oi, Joe, look at your brothers. Look what's happened to them. Careers in the toilet. Head up, son. Get it together. Let's go.
Andy, we're in trouble now.
Before we can respond to this, we have to reach out to.
We haven't. Yeah, we haven't seen the Patreon sign up, and that's really what we were going with. All right, I'm going to answer this. First of all, if you look through our archives, which we're going to for the next month will be available for free, the archives on the goonerspod.com, you will note that we actually did have this fine young gentleman on back when we were actually friends with him. I would have him on in a second right now, because I got a lot of things that I would like to see how he would answer. I would have a debate any day of the week with this guy, and frankly, he wouldn't do it because he's worried, he's scared. He wouldn't come on our show because he would tell us that it would be giving us too much fame rubbing off of him. So look. Neutral location. If you want to have a debate, if you want me to tell you why I think you're a massive cunt, and it isn't for the reasons you think, I'm happy to do it.
I'll do it right now on here.
We're talking about the same guy who asked for one of the boys' postcodes because
I don't know. There's so much stuff that we can't.
No, he did this on Twitter. Oh, give me your postcode. I'll come around and sort you out.
No, absolutely. That was and I know who you're talking about as well. Another Welshman, but no,
he is essentially burnt bridges based purely off of the fact that he has more followers on Twitter than anyone else. But here's what I would like to comment on that, Mike, is the engagement of certain tweets when you have, 15,000 followers should be more than 5 likes. So something's amiss here.
Right.
Okay. That's all I'm going to say. If you have thousands and thousands, you should have more than 5 likes for some of your tweets. So, you can go out there and you can pay for followers. Should we wrap it up?
Or put financial and mortgage hashtags in your YouTube search terms.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
All
right, let's wrap it up.
Study at home, that sort of
Jason,
thing. Anyway,
thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure.
You have been a superstar, and we love you. And
we do. As our photos, and I didn't even show you all the photos, but as our photos show, I mean, we've had a long storied history together.
You're the king of the reach around.
Oh yeah. Oh, we know that. That. But stay on with us, Jace. Everyone in the group or in the chat group, thank you for being with us.
Ray, we've enjoyed you for well over a year. Rhonda, thanks for chilling on Facebook and watching us. Yes, I do occasionally have some champagne, but none for the next many months.
Wait, sorry, lads. Can I cut in for 1 second? I do apologize. I do it too often to you. Becca Rhodes put a tweet this week. Okay, Becca put a tweet and it said, "I dreamt that Olivier Giroud offered me a bit of fun."
And she tends to have a lot of those kinds of dreams. I'm just gonna leave it there.
She turned him down. That's
yes, and can I tell you why?
I don't know. Oh, sorry.
All right. So anyway, yes, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can watch us on Facebook. Please give us a thumbs up so that YouTube doesn't think that we, don't make anyone happy. We love being a boutique contest. Patreon.com/TGP. Tell your friends, tell your bosses, tell your wealthy benefactor, your sugar daddies and sugar mommies, because it's time to start, making the economics work for this whole deal. That's about it. Hope you guys have a great week. we will surely be back soon. I've been talking to Gab Marcotti about getting him on, and it's always good to talk to him kind of off season because he's not really an Arsenal supporter, but he knows a lot about what's going on in the football world. So I think you can look forward to Gab coming on with us shortly, and some other great guests while the wait for the next game occurs. So cheers to everybody. And Andy, are you going to take us out? Do you have something to play, or we just end this thing?